Saudi-owned Newcastle are stuck in 12th place, closer to the relegation zone than Champions League qualification. Now they may finally make the decision many have been expecting for years. You guessed it. Replace Eddie Howe. The situation at Newcastle. Before we get to the candidates, let's talk about where Newcastle are right now. The loss to Everton at St James Park was Newcastle's third consecutive home defeat in the Premier League. They've lost to Aston Villa, Brentford and now Everton at home. That's unacceptable for a club with Newcastle's ambitions and resources. Newcastle are currently 12th in the Premier League table with just 10 games left to play. They're 12 points off 5th place and Champions League qualification. The gap is enormous. Former Germany international Dietmar Hamann said it best. Eddie Howe is feeling the pressure, absolutely. If you look at wages paid, Newcastle are in the top 5 or 6. People expect more. Howe himself admitted after the Everton defeat, "This is probably the first time where serious question marks have been asked of our home performances. It's something that can't linger too long. We've got to grab it back." The problem is, Newcastle's owners might not give him that chance. With the summer transfer window approaching and a big decision looming, the club is already looking at potential replacements. Here are the 5 most suitable options.
Hey Goal 90 family, what's good? The World Cup season is here and you already know the vibes on this channel. So for everyone who's been rocking with us, Goal 90 Shop has World Cup jerseys for the whole squad. Men, women and kids. Whatever country you're repping, we've got ya. Home kits, away kits, clean classics and the loud ones. Instant match day energy. And it's love from us. Free shipping worldwide. Grab yours now and let's run this tournament together.
5. Kieran McKenna. Let's start with Kieran McKenna. The Northern Irishman is currently managing Ipswich Town and his story is impressive. McKenna guided Ipswich to back-to-back promotions from League One to the Premier League between 2022 and 2024. That's a remarkable achievement for any manager. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who worked with McKenna at Manchester United, had high praise for him. He's the most thorough and analytical, step-by-step, process-driven coach that I've worked with. He makes it so easy for the players to see and understand what we wanted from them. One of his strong points was defensive organisation, and I let him be in charge of that in training. I learned from him about defensive shape and how not to concede. McKenna's stock may have fallen slightly after Ipswich struggled in their first Premier League season in 2024-25. After 22 years away from the top flight, they were always going to find it difficult. But tellingly, McKenna has got the Tractor Boys right in the hunt for an instant return to the Premier League this season. They're competing for promotion back to the top flight, which shows McKenna's ability to build and rebuild quickly. For Newcastle, McKenna represents a modern, analytical coach who can organise defensively and develop young players. He's proven he can work with limited resources and get the best out of his squad. However, he's untested at a big club with massive expectations. That's the risk. But if Newcastle are willing to take a chance on a young progressive manager, McKenna ticks a lot of boxes. 4. Roberto Zerbi. Roberto Zerbi is a free agent after being sacked by Marseille earlier this season. Before that, he had an excellent spell at Brighton, where he played attractive, possession-based football and got the Seagulls competing in Europe. Zerbi's Brighton were one of the most exciting teams to watch in the Premier League. Recently, Zerbi said, "The Premier League is absolutely the best league in the world, and I have great memories of when I worked in Brighton. It was an amazing experience for me, and I feel the league is getting better and better." That's a clear hint that he wants to return to England, and for a club like Newcastle, Zerbi would be a smart appointment. He plays attacking, high-energy football that would suit Newcastle's fan base. The atmosphere at St James Park thrives on excitement and aggression, and Zerbi's teams deliver that. The concern with Zerbi is his time at Marseille. He was sacked after just a few months because things didn't work out. Some might see that as a red flag. But Marseille is a notoriously difficult club to manage, with constant upheaval and unrealistic expectations. Brighton, on the other hand, was stable and well run, and Zerbi thrived there. If Newcastle want a manager who can get them playing exciting football and competing for European spots, Zerbi is a strong candidate. He's available, he's experienced in the Premier League, and he's hungry to prove himself again. Newcastle would be smart to consider him. 3. Oliver Glasner. Oliver Glasner is currently at Crystal Palace, but he's informed the club that he will not sign a contract extension when his deal expires in June. That means Glasner will be a free agent this summer, and Newcastle should absolutely be interested. Glasner's achievements speak for themselves. He won the FA Cup with Crystal Palace, which is an incredible accomplishment for a club of that size. Before that, he won the Europa League with Eintracht Frankfurt. Those are serious trophies. Glasner knows how to win, and he knows how to compete in Europe. The Austrian is burning his bridges at Crystal Palace, but that's because he's outgrown the club. He's proven he can work with limited resources and still deliver results. At Newcastle, he'd have better players, more money and higher ambitions. That combination could be very dangerous. Tactically, Glasner is flexible. He can play possession-based football or hit teams on the counter. He's adaptable, which is crucial in the Premier League. His teams are also well organised defensively, which is something Newcastle desperately need right now. Under Howe, Newcastle have kept just 2 clean sheets in 21 league games this season. That's unacceptable. Glasner also has European experience, which is important if Newcastle want to get back into the Champions League. He's managed in the Europa League and won it. That experience would be invaluable for a club with Newcastle's ambitions. The only question is whether Glasner is the right size for Newcastle. He's managed Frankfurt and Palace, both of which are smaller clubs. Newcastle is a massive club with enormous expectations. Can Glasner handle that pressure? If he can, he could be a perfect fit. Marco Silva. Marco Silva is currently at Fulham, and he's done an excellent job there. He's upwardly mobile, plays attractive football, and has charisma and a big personality. Silva would appear tailor-made for St James's Park. Silva was chewed up by Everton in the late 2000s, but that shouldn't count against him. Even Carlo Ancelotti, one of the greatest managers of all time, only got Everton to 10th place. Everton is a dysfunctional club, and Silva's failure there says more about them than it does about him. At Fulham, Silva has been fantastic. He's got them playing entertaining football, competing in mid-table, and occasionally beating the big boys. His contract expires at the end of this season, which means he'll be available for free. That makes him an even more attractive option for Newcastle. Silva's style of football would suit Newcastle perfectly. He likes his teams to press high, play out from the back, and attack with pace. St James's Park would love that. The Newcastle fans crave excitement, and Silva would deliver it. Silva also has Premier League experience, which is crucial. He knows the league inside out. He's managed at Watford, Everton and Fulham, so he understands what it takes to succeed in England. That experience would be invaluable for Newcastle. The concern with Silva is whether he can make the step up from Fulham to a club with European ambitions. Fulham are a well-run club, but they're not competing for Champions League football. Newcastle should be. Can Silva handle that pressure? If he can, he could be a brilliant appointment. He ticks a lot of boxes: Premier League experience, attractive football, availability, and personality. Newcastle should seriously consider him. Andoni Iraola. And now, the number 1 candidate to replace Eddie Howe, Andoni Iraola. The Bournemouth manager is the most realistic and most exciting option on this list. Iraola took over at Bournemouth in the summer of 2023 and has been exceptional. He guided Bournemouth to a 12th place finish in his first season, then improved them to 9th place in 2024-25. That 9th place finish represented Bournemouth's joint best ever finish in their top-flight history. It was a remarkable achievement. But Iraola's job was made even more difficult this season. In the 2025 summer transfer window, 3 of Bournemouth's first-choice defenders left to join Champions League clubs. Dean Huijsen, Ilya Zabani and Milos Kerkez all departed. That's 3 starting defenders gone in one window. Most managers would struggle to recover from that. On top of that, Antoine Semenyo, Bournemouth's standout performer in the first half of the 2025-26 season, left in January when Manchester City triggered his release clause. Losing your best attacker mid-season is a huge blow, yet Iraola has kept Bournemouth competitive despite all these departures. That's incredible man management and coaching. Iraola is also on Manchester City's radar as they consider prospective options should Pep Guardiola depart at the end of the season. If Manchester City are interested in Iraola, that tells you everything you need to know about his quality. City don't look at average managers. Iraola's contract expires this summer, and he's been linked with several top clubs over the past few months, both in the Premier League and abroad. He's ready for the next step in his career, and Newcastle would be the perfect move. Tactically, Iraola is brilliant. He plays high-energy, high-pressing football. His teams are aggressive, hard to break down, and dangerous going forward. That style would suit Newcastle perfectly. The fans at St James Park would love it. Iraola also has experience working with limited resources and still delivering results. At Newcastle, he'd have better players, more money and higher ambitions. Imagine what he could do with a squad like Newcastle's. Iraola could build something special. The only concern is whether Iraola is ready for the pressure of managing a club like Newcastle. Bournemouth is a well-run club with realistic expectations. Newcastle is a giant club with massive expectations and a fan base that demands success. Can Iraola handle that? If he can, he's the perfect candidate to replace Eddie Howe. So there you have it, 5 realistic options who could replace Eddie Howe at Newcastle United this summer. Andoni Iraola is the standout candidate, but Marco Silva, Oliver Glasner, Roberto Zerbi and Kieran McKenna all bring something different to the table. Which manager would you want at Newcastle? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.